Hello and welcome to the Corona Yoga Challenge. Today is day 89. Please make sure that you are checking my website, keep yourself safe, adapting as you need to, and subscribe if you'd like to. We're going to start by coming onto your back, so if you bring yourself to lying down so that you're nice and comfortable. So first of all, just settle the back onto the floor, even lift the shoulders, settle them down, lift the hips, settle them down, so we get that feeling of a spreading and widening across the back of the body as we begin to meet the floor a little bit more comfortably. And then if you just let your hands come out towards the sides so the shoulders are relaxed slightly down towards the floor, but also down and away from your face. So we're not having the shoulders high up, we're allowing them to sink down and away. You're just going to let your head roll over to one side. Easy stretch. More like a rest than a stretch almost. And into the centre, and to the other side. Same thing, just nice and comfortable. Bringing your head back to the centre. You're going to take your knees over your chest for a moment, so just draw them in nice and close, give them a little cuddle in, and then settle them onto the floor. Again, hands are going to come wide beside you. We're going to come up and into bridge pose. So to do that, we're going to press down through the feet to lift up through the hips. We're going to spread down to the shoulders so we get that feeling of width out and wide. And that width out and wide through the upper chest can come out through the arms and into the hands. You're going to uncurl to come down. So imagine you're taking the top of your spine, vertebra by vertebra, onto the floor. And then eventually at some point you'll find that the rest of your body just settles more as one piece as we come to the lower back. This time you're going to take your hands up and onto the floor. You're going to have your fingertips on the floor and your elbows are going to be drawing in towards one another. So if you just start with that position of the hands, so notice what has to happen through the back of your body as the elbows come in the direction of one another. So this isn't about bringing the elbows together, it's just about bringing them up the way so that they're growing up towards the ceiling. From that position, if you lift your upper back a little bit away from the floor and settle it back, so what you might have is a feeling of even more sense of space across the back of the shoulders. And if this doesn't work for you and it doesn't feel right, then do something different. Come back to hands here if you prefer, particularly if there's any shoulder stuff going on. So from here we're going to come up into bridge again, so see if you can spread wide through the back. And then can you get the same feeling of width across the upper chest, even though we've got all that width through the back of the body now? And then uncurl, slowly come down. Slowly come down so the hips settle down. And then the elbows are going to come wide and onto the floor. As the elbows come wide and onto the floor, notice where the space is, where the feeling of space is for you. So whether it's the chest, whether it's the underarms, whether it's the sides of the waist, the back of the body, where is it for you that you feel, I've got more feeling of space in my body there? We're going to come up to standing now. So if you start by just rolling yourself over onto one side, take a moment just to rest, and then bring yourself up and to standing. So we're going to do that by coming through a forward bend. So if you take feet onto the floor, lift up through the hips, soften through the knees, allow the head to fall forwards. Take your hands onto your thighs rather than onto the floor, so we've got a feeling of support for the body. And then bend through the knees, lift up through the pelvic floor, all the way up with the hands, and then bring your hands back and to your heart. So we're going to be doing a standing pose today, and what I'm going to do is suggest that you find yourself a bit of support to do this with initially anyway, because what we're going to do is we're going to take the legs wide and come forwards. So with a chair, if I take my legs wide, I can keep my back quite long and I can have that feeling of length through the front of the body, length through the back of the body. And I can bend my knees so that I'm completely comfortable here. It might be for you that you're quite happy to work onto the floor or lower onto your thighs. And if so, that's grand. but don't do it if it ends up like this. So if we end up with the kind of C curve going up through the back of the body and the tummy drawing back and up and this kind of curving, better to be up and higher up. We're going to start with a slightly gentler version of it, so we're going to be taking our hands onto our legs at the moment, but you might want to have your chair, have a pause, get your chair ready so that you can just flow through if you would like to. So steady down through the feet. You can have your feet much narrower. If you have your feet much narrower, you've got much further forwards to go. So it's a bit of a balance, so sometimes taking your feet wide actually makes it easier. However, if you take your feet wide, we've really got to make sure we've got nice contact down to the outside edges of the feet so that we're not slipping at all. And for this, absolutely use a mat. But also strong legs. They're even more important than a leg. They're even more important than a mat. So from here, bend through your knees, allow your shoulders come up and forward. Think about your hips coming slightly forwards so that you've got a feeling of the hips being more or less over the heels. You're just going to allow one hand to come out to the side, just have a little lift through that side, back to the centre and to the other side. And then back to both hands on your legs. Bend through your knees, come up to standing, allow your shoulders to roll out and down. We're going to come a little bit further into that if you would like. This is where you might want a chair or a block so that you're a bit higher off the floor. So you're going to bring yourself forward, so just let your hands slide down your legs, have your knees that little bit soft so that the lower back is really well protected. Get that feeling of length through the tummy, length through the back of the waist. Let your hands come onto the floor if you would like. Settle down through the heels, so that through the outside edges of the feet so we stay focused. And then if you would like, take one hand in towards the centre line a little bit more. Free hand can come up. And it can come out if you would like. So we end up in a kind of triangle pose that is from tripod. Bring your hand back and onto the floor. And then we're going to swap over so that hand can come exactly where that one was, while the hand eases up and out. Stay nice and steady through the feet, so alive into the feet, alive into the hands. Bring yourself back to the centre, so that both hands are more or less underneath your shoulders. And what we're going to do from here is going to bend the elbows and you're going to allow your head to come down. So this is just in a comfortable way for you. So we get a feeling of down through the heels, up through the hips and soft and releasing down through the head and the upper body. And then bring yourself up so that your hands come onto your legs. Bend through your knees. Lift up through the legs to bring yourself up. And then if you bring yourself back to just standing and settled. So just a moment where you're aware of the feeling of your weight very slightly settling back into your heels. So you get that easy feeling of open through the shoulders and the arms can just release down. We're going to come to the floor now. We're going to do a lying twist. So if you want to bring yourself onto the ground so that you're nice and comfortable again, you're just going to be on your back and you're going to let your knees come over your chest. So let them come close in just for a moment. And then you're going to allow one hand to rest onto the floor. You're going to hold onto your knees with the opposite arm and then you're going to roll yourself in towards that arm. Now the top arm can come onto the back of your waist and you can ease open and out. So we just come into that really comfortable, easy twist. Take a lovely breath. Enjoy the movement through the spine. So from the hip on the floor, up and over the rib cage, down through the opposite shoulder. And then bring yourself back to holding onto your knees. Bring them in towards the centre. And then we're going to swap over. So opposite hand is going to hold onto your legs. Opposite hand is going to settle onto the floor. Rolling in towards the hand on the floor or the arm on the floor. And then let your hand settle back onto your waist so you can gently open out and round. And easy breathing again. So breathing is just so important in yoga. So don't just do the pose, you've got to breathe the pose. bring yourself onto your side so that you can draw your knees up to the centre and hug both in evenly. We're going to come up to sitting now, so come up a way that is nice and comfortable for you. Usually rolling onto your side and walking yourself up from the side is ideal, but it could be a variety of different ways. So see if you can find a way to come up where the back remains, you might say unjarred, so the back remains quite happy and settled with its positioning. We're going to do a little bit of breathing just now, so we're just going to find a place to sit where you are comfortable. And then we're going to start to breathe in, and today we're going to do that bottom up, so a traditional full yogic breath it's called. Don't know if that makes it sound easier or worse, but that's what it is called. Sometimes names just make it sound more exotic and more fancy, and it's actually just something very, very simple. So what we're going to do is we're going to breathe into the low area, into the belly, so you feel your belly expand. As that becomes full, you fill into the rib cage, and then all the way up to the collarbones. Breathing out down through the upper chest, down and out through the rib cage, down and out through the tummy. And then opposite way, inhaling, filling up higher and higher, so that we feel full of air. And then exhaling, sinking it back down, so we eventually get that little drawing back of the tummy to expel the air out. Inhaling, filling up, exhaling, becoming smaller, all the way to the belly. And then let your breathing settle and relax. Notice how this moment is. So my challenge for you today is inspired by my son and daughter, to be fair. My son wanted his hair cut by my daughter, and she has provided a haircut, which has involved him saying halfway through that he's had enough. So he's got 2 shaved bits along here, and the rest is really long, but the in between, it doesn't kind of gradient into it, it kind of lumps into it like that, and there's kind of hanging long bits and there's short bits, and it's really quite inspired in a kind of rebellious way, in that there's a very major sense of chaos in this haircut. So my challenge to you today is to do something fun with your hair, something just silly, enjoyable. And actually, I know that my hair is looking a bit odd, but this is not it. This is actually sensible for me. Sorry, isn't it? Even with the bits hanging down and everything. Family habits. Yeah, no, so find something fun that you can do with your hair, even if it's just for 5 minutes, even if it's just a moment of madness. I think my favourite one is that if I do that to my hair enough, it actually stands out like that. It's really weird. It's quite full on. I do it as a family show every so often, just to amuse people. And my quote for you today, it's from Mabel Todd. Oh, no, didn't want that one. Oh, now I've lost it. Where's she gone? There we go. It's from Wendell Berry. I came to what must come to me, carried as a dancer by a song. The grace is gravity. I come to what must come to me, carried as a dancer by a song. The grace is gravity. Hope you have a lovely day and very silly hair.